Hey folks, welcome back to Game Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're going to talk about the ROG Xbox Ally X. Quite the name. So we're going to slim it down to the XAX. And basically what this is this just an informational video on pretty much everything we know. And we'll go through it as quickly as we can. We'll go through some of the specs first. Some of it might be a little techie for you. And then we'll talk about what you can actually play, which I think is the most important aspect. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So this is going to have a slimmed down version of Windows basically just for gaming. So they're stripping out the desktop, they're stripping out everything else that is not gaming related, and what's left is the Windows 11 gaming experience. And that's kind of what they're terming it too. And this is really just made for handhelds. And now this is not just going to be just on the ROG or just on the XAX or like the Xbox Ally, we'll call that XA. Yeah, but this isn't going to be just on the XA or the XAX. This is also eventually coming next year in 2026 to pretty much all other handhelds that run Windows. It will be a free update. So if you're kind of wanting that experience, you can kind of just sit and wait. But yeah, right now, we know that roughly, according to Xbox, it saves about 2 gigabytes of RAM for the processes, which is huge, especially if you have a ROG Ally that's 16 gigabytes of RAM. That's helping you save 2 gigs just to go straight for your gaming, which is amazing. And yeah, that's pretty impressive, honestly. So, but yeah, we don't really necessarily have our hands on it yet. There's been a few people that have it out there. But the XAX is basically going to have the Z2 Extreme chip. And this is the latest version, and it also has AI coupled with it, so we can assume that there's an upscaler. This is roughly, just the chip itself is supposed to add 10 to 15% additional performance than what the Z1 already does. Again, this is probably partly because of the upscaler, and since this is AMD, we know that the upscaler is FSR, probably FSR 3. We don't know exactly what version of 3, but we know, too, that 4 is coming, and so maybe that'll eventually be an update 2. I don't know. We'll exactly have to see how they do this. We know, too, that the RAM clock speed is also the highest on the market at 8,000 megahertz. Right now, the current 2024 version of the ROG Ally X is at 7,200 megahertz. And also comparing the XA and the XAX, the XA is going to be at 6,400, and again, the XAX version is going to be at 8,000. And this is roughly, again, about a 4.5% improvement according to benchmarks just on the RAM itself. So that's going to be a little bit of a boost. And again, it'll vary some, of course, depending on what game you're playing. There's also grips, kind of like an Xbox, kind of like the original ROG that first came out. And that's kind of nice. People say that it actually feels pretty good and helps distribute the weight, which the weight itself, too, is roughly about 1.58 pounds or 1.6 pounds. It's pretty heavy, or 730 grams, I think. So it's a pretty beefy handheld, but again, it's going to feel pretty good with those extra grips on there. It'll be more surface area in your palms. We also know, too, that there's a built-in Xbox button to help you just be able to transition from gaming experience to be able to get into Xbox and all of that stuff. This is also going to come with the Xbox app, which is going to allow you to basically buy things that you want, be able to have access to Game Pass, and everything for them is pretty much roping everything into this Xbox app. And so yeah, you'll basically be able to have everything there. This too is also going to come with the Thunderbolt 4. This allows you to hook up an external graphics card all the way up to a 5090, the latest NVIDIA. So that's pretty insane. Again, if you're going to get a 5090 and hook it up, that's basically $2,000 on top of what you're going to pay for the XAX. But the XA is not going to have Thunderbolt 4, just the XAX itself, not the XA. But yeah, this is really interesting, kind of getting into the idea of like, you're going to be able to have a handheld, you're going to have, you know, if you have the coin, be able to pay for a PC experience by hooking up some more modular stuff to your handheld device itself. You're going to have access to subscription services. You're going to have access to your libraries, which that's probably, again, one of the biggest things. Let me chat about that now. I mean, you're going to have access to Xbox, of course, and Game Pass, and also Play Anywhere type of games, which there's a little over 1,000 titles. True Achievement right now currently has a ongoing list, anything that's updated gets added there. You can go ahead and take a look at the list. You can also have Steam, GOG, Epic Game Store, Ubisoft Connect, and anything else that's still running. Because again, this is basically a Windows slimmed down 11. So yeah, it's pretty insane. Like, you can have access to just about everything, which includes PlayStation games that are on Steam. Currently, there's no official price right now for the XA or the XAX, but we're guessing somewhere 500 for the XA, maybe 6, and then also 800-900 for the XAX. Something that is interesting, though, is I do want to clarify this. The 2024 models of the ROG Ally basically have the same RAM amount, but different clock speeds. The 2024 versions also have a 2 terabyte version. The XA, unfortunately, is only going to have 512, which really isn't going to go very far. Just maybe four games, 4 big ones. And then the XAX is going to have a 1 terabyte. Now, what I'm curious about, which we don't know yet, is being able to upgrade that M2 SSD card to be able to get up to 8 terabytes. And the thing that I'm curious about is the Xbox partition that's lately been on kind of everything of theirs. And I wonder if the partition is also going to be present on the SSD that you get with these handhelds. Because it is technically an Xbox, according to the branding and their partnership and all of that stuff. So are people going to have to worry about that partition if they want to upgrade? So let's talk about the screen. The screen's basically the same of what's already been out there. It's going to be an LCD at 500 nits brightness. And what we're seeing is that since it is basically the same screen, we do know that the XA is going to be at 720p, and we know that the XAX is going to be at 1080p. Both are going to be at 120 hertz. There probably will be some version of an OLED screen in the future, probably too with a bigger SSD. So again, the price tag is just going to continue to go up from here. And I do want to say too that even though the XA is at 720p, it will probably be a downclocked or downgraded resolution version on a 1080p screen. So what people might be able to figure out something there, being able to kind of unlock the 1080p if it is truly a 1080p screen, because it doesn't make sense if it was a 720. We don't really have 720 screens out there. There's some, but 1080p for handhelds is becoming a lot more common, so that would make more sense to actually have that. But if it is possible to actually unlock 1080p on your, when it's supposed to be 720 for your XA, that would actually be kind of cool. But I'll keep my ears and eyes open for that as time goes on. Let's talk about the battery. So the battery sizes are the same as the 2024 models for the ROG Ally. The XA is going to be 60 watts, and the XAX is going to be 80 watts. And again, these are pretty big compared to what's available on Steam Deck and also for the Switch 2. And also, being able to save with the XAX for your upscaler and also your slimmed down version of Windows 11, that's really going to help your battery go a little bit further. Again, we don't necessarily know how much, but we're still roughly expecting maybe 2.5 hours on like high performing games like Cyberpunk, for example, at 1080p. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly how the battery, and that's probably been the biggest issue for a lot of folks with handhelds, is that even with the Switch 2 at this point, is that they take a while to charge, and then they only last, again, 2 hours or sometimes less, depending on what's going on. And yeah, your battery is never at 100% anyway. So that's pretty rough. But ultimately, you already have the ROG Ally and the benefits that already come with that. And then this is just a upgraded Windows 11 version that eventually is also coming to all other Windows 11 handhelds. And this is supposed to be a similar version of like the Xbox console experience. So it's not exactly a console. It doesn't have the Xbox OS on there necessarily. It has the Xbox app, which again is a derivative from the console version. And this is all running on Windows 11. So you'll be able to tab through Xbox, Steam, Epic Store, GOG, whatever, and have access to all of your libraries right there. So you can look at all of your libraries, look at what's available, and basically click on the game you want to play. Some of these, of course, too, will also be able to be clouded, and the Xbox app doesn't really take too much. Minimum requirements for internet connection is 5 megabits per second, which is quite small. The average, even in Africa, is 12 megabits per second. So pretty much wherever you are in the world, you're going to have that type of speed that you need, that upload speed. But again, if you're somewhere like in a coffee shop where you're sharing it with everybody, or maybe on an airplane, that's going to drag it down a little bit and make it a little tough. But pretty much for everybody and where everyone is in the world, you'll have plenty of upload speed to be able to stream your games. And then too, if you don't necessarily want to do that, of course, you can download it to your SSD. There is also expandable memory. But again, you're going to need to make sure that you have a basically like an express card, something pretty fancy to be able to run your games off of that card. And because again, you're having the resolution, you're having probably some level of ray tracing, you're having the upscaler do some work. So yeah, that's pretty much just expected. That's the standard now, even with the Switch 2. So the biggest difference between the XA and the XAX is that one has 16 gigs of RAM, the other has 24. One has 512 gigabytes of storage space, one has 1 terabyte. One has the Z1 CPU, and the other has the Z2 AI CPU chip. The XA is 720p for the screen. The other is 1080p. The XAX is going to have the Thunderbolt port, and the XA is in white, and the XAX is in black. So again, it's easy to differentiate. Both will have the Windows 11 slimmed down version. Both will have a mic. Both will have grips. Both will have the Xbox app in the storefronts. Both will have the Armory settings to be able to click through whatever graphical settings you want to switch and change. And both will have expandable memory slots. Now, the next thing that I do want to take a look at is the Play Anywhere itself. Both two are... well, I should add, too, that the XAX is probably going to have the upscaler of FSR, but not the XA. So, yeah, let's talk about the Play Anywhere. So, the idea with Play Anywhere, I was taking a look at my own library and was thinking, okay, if I'm going to play anywhere, then I want to be able to understand what kind of access I have to my games. Because these are also basically buy it once, be able to play it anywhere at any time. Cross saves will come with you, etc., all of this stuff. And it's also not necessarily tied to Game Pass. Though I think for the moment it is, but we're also looking at probably getting just a cloud subscription type of service with Game Pass. So we'll have like 4 different tiers, I'm assuming, and we'll see exactly what that looks like. But it looks like ultimately Play Anywhere and Game Pass are supposed to kind of work in tandem. And so looking at the Play Anywhere current list, the oldest I was able to find was Forza Horizon 3, which was 2016, going pretty far back, but that's the only game from 2016. I was able to find a couple of more games. Oh, there was also Gears of War 4. That was also 2016. There were 2 other games that I also found in 2018, which was Just Cause 4 and We Happy Few, but well over the majority of the games on Play Anywhere as a service, even though there's 1,000 of them, are all from 2020 and newer. So Play Anywhere actually leaves out a ton of games. There's no From Software games. Most of the Ubisoft stuff isn't there. So you don't have Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Watch Dogs, Rainbow Six. It also leaves out most of the EA games, the sports, Jedi, and Battlefield. Most of those aren't there. Some of those you can find on Game Pass. Same thing with Take-Two Interactive as a publisher. You don't have your Borderlands, you don't have your Red Dead, you don't have your GTA. So it's like some of these, again, are on Game Pass, but not all of the time. And they can take these off also at any time. So Play Anywhere is always growing. They're always adding more games. Probably in another year, we'll get to 2,000 games. But again, there are still tons of thousands of games out there that still are not going to be on the service. So it will continue to improve, which will also cost money, which ultimately will probably raise the cost for Game Pass or whatever services they have. But there's really no 360. There's no original Xbox. A lot of Xbox One is also left off the table. It's basically just a lot of current gen hardware, and the handheld form factor can't really run PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X completely on its own natively. So this is why we have that upscaler for the XAX. And why probably the resolution is also dumbed down for the XA at 720p to try to help run some of these games. But like, there is a little bit out there. So like, the only Fallout game they have currently is Fallout Shelter. None of the other Fallouts are there. The only Call of Duty game that's actually on there is Black Ops 7, which isn't even out yet. The only Elder Scroll game that they have is the Oblivion Remaster. The only Halo games that they have are Halo Infinite and Halo Wars 1 and 2. So again, it's like the games you would like to play, the games you would like to burn some time with, they're not there, which is kind of frustrating for Play Anywhere. And this is why I think ultimately Play Anywhere and Game Pass are supposed to be used in tandem, because again, all of those kind of like Xbox first party games that we would expect to be Play Anywhere, and maybe they'll eventually show up, well, they're actually on Game Pass. So there is a way to get everything, generally speaking, but again, you can't quite get it the way maybe you would like. It's still not going to be a console. That's why they call it a console experience. So hopefully that's all clear as mud for you. And again, Play Anywhere and Game Pass are going to get better, but that also means too that the price is also going to go up. So the best place to play still is collecting your library on Steam and GOG or Epic Games Store. And again, if you as an Xbox player, if you want PlayStation games, or as a PlayStation player, you want a handheld form factor, that's still all going to be there with all of the other storefronts, which is nice. And so on paper, this works. This is great. This sounds pretty good. But again, with Play Anywhere, and not having Game Pass Ultimate, there's going to be a lot of games that are going to be missing. And there's a lot of games that are going to be missing anyway. So hopefully in the future, they can work on making an app so you can play your Xbox One games, so you can play your 360 games and your original Xbox. Emulate them, create some kind of an app to play them, stream them, whatever. But being able to have access would be nice. Plus, too, all of the games that you have bought and all of the physical library that you have, which I understand this isn't going to pertain to everybody, but again, you have a massive amount of games there that you can't actually take with you. So there's going to be this transition period probably through the rest of the decade until you can feel like you, quote, have your library and you can take it with you. And what I think we're ultimately heading for with the gaming industry is that you're going to have a console or a device, I should say it that way. You'll have a device that is able to do everything. You can take it with you. You can hook it up and get the graphical performance of PC. You can have a console-like experience and be able to easily, tweak settings and play games and have access to them. In some capacity, your library will be able to come with you as well. And then, too, if you wish, you can also cloud stream, or you can run stuff natively on your hardware. And so Xbox's mantra and MO right now is play what you want, how you want, anywhere you want, on anything you want. And that's really what they're going for. Of course, it'll take a long time to get there. We'll probably see a pretty significant jump with the next-gen hardware of consoles that's coming at the end of this decade, probably in 28 or 29. And Xbox might still release their own first party at some point down the road, too, even though it's quote-unquote canceled. But, yeah, we'll have to see. So with that, folks, if you have any other questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comments for me. I'm always going to try to keep up with this stuff. And I do find it actually pretty fascinating. But yeah, this is not necessarily a complete leap forward from what's already out there for the ROG Ally. But it is cool that there is a official push to try to merge everything together across all storefronts. And I think that's great. So with that, folks, thanks for tuning in. You can follow me at Gaming Garbage 22 over at YouTube. Don't forget our playlist. There's a bunch of stuff I do on the channel. And then also you can follow me also over at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee. And yeah, if I'm playing a game or whatever, hey, go ahead and hop in, guys. I'll chat with you. So with that, folks, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next one.